So when it comes to Infinity Knight is the 2016 Chronomancer that is only obtainable via the Hero Mod map for 6000 ACs. Thus being said, when it comes to this class pretty much focuses on the dot element of the game, where it deals hefty amount of dot damage and further reduces the dot resistance of your targets. Now, it does have multiple elements to this class where you need to have your Rift active and your Shift active or inactive to pretty much do certain type of skills. So for your third ability, if your Rift is not active, you do a dot over time to your target, and if your Tempo Rift is active, you do a heal over time to yourself. Now for the fifth ability, if your Tempo Shift is not active, then you're basically reducing the target's dot resistance and damage boost. Then when it's active, you further reduce it as well. So it will be a 90% in total if you do the rotation. Now to the rotation, you start with 3-5, 2-2-5, 2-2-3, 2-2-4 and repeat. Because of how the different type of skills goes off, I normally start with the 3-5 just to get the extra dot going. Then start with the Tempo Shifts because that's when your scaling of your nuke actually goes off. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. It does not have any recorded damage, so it doesn't do that much damage if you try to do a burst amount of damage at once, and its nuke kind of deals damage over time for 10 seconds, so you can play around with it to say the least, where your allies can buff you during your dot going off. It does increase it as well, and if you have other buffs going off, it does reduce your damage. So it's a little bit weird to say the least when it comes to a nuke, because it's not like an instant nuke like among of your other current monsters, so you kind of have to deal with it to say the least. Now let's come to other parts of the game. You can use this class for team fights. I normally use Balance, where the boss doesn't have a boss shield and where mana is not a problem. If mana is a problem, I use Elysium, ideally when it's 4 players, because then you have like lower chance of getting mana back. And you can use a very ideal comp with this class, where you can just boost your dot damage and reduce the target's dot resistance like crazy, like using Arcana Monster, then Dragon of Time, and with this class with the 90%, your total resistance like almost over 300%, which is absurd to say the least. Then when it comes to solo, you can use this for solo, but you do have a problem with your resistance being 40%, so you might die randomly with hard hitters. So I would say it's more for normal bosses, not hard hitters. I do use Acheron for this class. It's ideal because it does more than Balance, but if you don't have Acheron, then you can use Balance. Just note this class does have mana problems, so if you're not careful, then you are going to fall off. You have 2 abilities that is status effects, so pretty much that you're losing out on mana for those 2 skills. Then your first ability doesn't cost any mana, so you just need to play around with that if you're not careful. When it comes to farming, it is not a deal, because you basically your dot goes continuously, and for farming your bosses or mobs are generally low health, because honestly if you go higher health you're gonna struggle to say the least. I use Acheron for this. You can use Elysium, but honestly you have better options for other classes. Then when it comes to PvP, it's alright. You can have a weird situation where you die and your target dies, so you both win. Yes, that has happened randomly. Like I said, your second ability, it can work, but again, it's a lot of things happening with this class that you need to pay attention to. But honestly, it's nice, but not worth it. And have a nice day.